Welcome to Talking Halo. It's Derek Ciapola with my co-host, my partners in crime, Jared Timms and Nate Green, for another exciting episode of the show. Lots going on in the league this week with the league meetings, trades, signings, you name it, we got it. But we're here to talk about the Angels, and the very first thing to go around and talk about is the Angels in the draft lottery today. Get the number 2 pick in next year's draft. Oh boy. Here we go. Draft talk, draft talk, draft talk. Nate Green, here we go into you first. We'll leave Jared to kind of give the finishing touches. How are you feeling about this pick? And is there a guy that's obvious to you that you want?
It's not great when you're talking about the draft in December and the draft is July. That means your team's usually not very good. But glad that they got this pick. This is huge for them. They've been able to turn college kids into pros very, very quickly. I would assume that they do something very similar. Jace Laviolette's guy that Jared and I have brought up multiple times already. He just makes the most sense on paper as of this second, December 10th. But obviously, things can change between now and then. But he's got a shot to be an absolute superstar. And with Washington having a lot of outfielders in their prospect rankings, a lot of young outfielders on their team, like I don't I think that that bodes well for the Angels, knowing that one of their key holes that they're probably going to try and fill this draft is going to be center field or third base. And if Laviolette is there, I would assume that he's going to at least be talked about as the pick.
And what if Washington takes Laviolette with their first pick?
Ethan Holiday will be there as well. I think that he's most likely to go one just because of what his brothers have done and what his father has done. And he's a heck of an athlete. He's a very, very good player. I don't think that Washington goes Laviolette, honestly. Like, I just don't see how they would. Um, but there's also Caminero, the Clemson kid who plays center field. He's mocked to go like seventh or eighth. I don't think he goes all the way to two unless the Angels decide to go under slot by a little bit and use that money in the second round. Um, there's a lot of options. It's still early. There's a three or at least three kids from Corona and Corona, not too far from Anaheim. There's at least three kids from there. There's a superstar pitcher. There's Dino Yipol's kid, and there's another shortstop that's going to Tennessee. So there's a lot of loaded young talent in this draft, and I think the Angels will stay away from that. Look more towards that college range. That's why Laviolette makes a lot of sense. Clemson kid, Jared will mention the Arizona kid just because the Angels signed his older brother this last year in draft free agency. So yeah, it looks good for the Angels. There's positions that they need early in this draft, and that's probably what they're going to attack.
Jared?
Yeah, I mean, this is getting the number two overall pick in a spot where the Angels are right now. This is something that kind of doesn't kind of it changes an organization, especially if you're able to hit on somebody like this, which is decently likely to happen that you're going to get maybe not a superstar, but somebody who's going to contribute at the major league level to a significant degree. So yes, like this is something that changes an organization. Number two, the Angels are 100%. They have a 100% chance of getting either Ethan Holiday or Jay Laviolette. It's a 100% chance, right? Like you're at this moment you're getting one or the other depending on what Washington wants to do. You have a 100% chance of doing it, so you have a 100% only get like a 50% chance of making at least people happy on that side of stuff. Um, when talking about underslot, not that you talk about it because we're going to talk about underslot a lot here in the next 6 months up until July. I guarantee you that because Travis Bazzana got $2 million underslot, and the reason why I bring this up is if you do enter your medicals um, in the draft combine, you are owed at least 75% of the draft pool slot. So the Angels are probably get that number two pick is going to be about $10 million. That's going to be that draft slot bonus. About it was like 9.8 about last year. So it's going to be about $10 million. So when you talk about going under slot, you can go under slot by about $2.5 million, give or take, if you're going to go that route. So I know a lot of people have already said it to me when I brought it up. If the Angels go under slot, they're going to be really upset. I mean, this number one overall pick, a lot of times, number one, number two, even number three, a lot of times does get underslot because teams have deals beforehand for these players. So when we talk about, Jay Slot maybe being underslot or Ethan Holiday maybe being underslot, a lot of people forget that when you get up this high in the draft, and the Angels haven't been up this high in the draft since Darren Erstad, it comes down to money at the end of the day. Yes, you mean you can go get the best player, but if Jamie Arnold or the Santa Barbara kid say, hey, we'll go $2 million, we'll go $2.5 million under and save you guys that amount, and Jay Slaviolette or Ethan Holiday are on the board, it might not be the fan favorite, but you're saving $2.5 million to go maybe go get that, guy who falls that was maybe the 15th overall prospect, Braden Summerhill, like I mentioned, not that he's going to fall, or somebody like that with the second overall pick, which is going to be close to about, I don't know, you're probably gonna be about $2 million with that second round pick. It's not second overall, the second round pick. So you can add $2.5 million to $2 million, and all of a sudden, hey, that's another first round pick that you just got there. So we're gonna talk about this a lot over the next 6 months. I can guarantee you that. But at the end of the day, right now, the Angels have a 100% chance of getting either Ethan Holiday or Jay Slaviolette. And I think it right now, Jay Slaviolette makes a lot of sense. Sorry, I threw a lot
For
of numbers, a lot of words at you there, but
for Laviolette, like, well, no, let's keep this a little simple though. We're talking about all the underslot things and so on and so forth, and the Angels are starting to get. I've noticed it more and more, and I've even mentioned we've talked about. They're starting to get the reputation of late of a team that's not willing to go spend money. Of late, they're starting to get this reputation of it, and I think the words are starting to hear more. They're acting like they're a small market team. Now, it's not entirely fair. They've kept a very large payroll for a long time, not top end, but a pretty large payroll. But they're not out there spending this offseason for sure. When you have a guy like Laviolette there, a guy who has the potential to be a superstar, isn't it almost imperative that the Angels go get that guy and spend the money versus taking a shot in an underslot for somebody else?
at the end of the day, it comes down to money. Yes, I mean, you want to draft best available on the board, but like if Laviolette's going to be asking, I there hasn't been somebody in quite some time, and I would say Bazana might be that guy. I'm trying to think of another guy from years prior that I would have given all of my money to. Dylan Cruz was one of those guys where it was like, hey,
Paul Skeens for
hey,
sure.
Paul Skeens probably was as well. Like if the Angels were sitting there at 12 and you were like, well, I mean, and I had always said like during that draft, like what if you were to make pre-draft deals with those three guys in that Cruz, Skeens, Langford draft and just said, hey, screw it, we're gonna pay you $20 million. Like Angels could hypothetically go do this. Like I'll put this out there right now. Why if the Angels are gonna be drafting 10th, right? They're already kicking back, right? Why not just go make pre-draft deals with Ethan Holiday and Jay Slaviolette, and the Santa Barbara kid and say, hey, we're gonna pay you this amount of money, but you're going to be a second round pick or you're going to be a third round pick. Like you get $20 million like in a signing bonus. Why not do that? Like the Angels are in actually a very good spot to go and do something crazy like this to completely rebuild the farm system, something that we have never seen anybody do. And the Angels are in like kind of that good spot to do it because of all the money that they're gonna have in this draft, first off. And second off, like nobody's ever done it before. Like, just go break the rules. The Dodgers are out breaking the rules. Why not? Why not the Angels go out and break the draft rules? And I mean, right? Like they have nothing to lose. They could load the farm system up and just say, hey, we're gonna take like all 20 of our picks are gonna be guys that we're gonna give overslot to. Whether you're the number one overall pick or whether you're the number 20 overall pick, we're gonna go get the best dude available. Why not go do that? You have nothing to lose. Right? I mean, like other than saying like, "Hey, Artie, can I get a couple extra $1 million in the draft to go completely rebuild the farm system?" Like, I've been waiting for this for such a long time for the
Okay,
Angels to
hold
have
on.
this
Can
type
you
of draft.
clarify for those who aren't exactly how can they spend all this money this year to go overslot for everybody when they
What
generally only have this much? So
what
explain
what
how they can do that.
what rule are they? I mean, there are plenty of rules out there, like, but there is no. rules, and I know Nate's looking it up right now because there are some rules.
I know, well, I know there's a number that you can't go over. Like whatever your number is, you can't go like, I think it's like 25% over your number. So there's
Or else you start getting dinged. There's no rule that says you can't go over by like millions and millions of dollars. Like the Angels are at that point right now that they could just go out and talk to the, I mean, why not like be the Dodgers and monopolize the draft? Like the Dodgers are monopolizing the major leagues. Angels could just go monopolize the draft this year and say, hey, like we're not going to have good draft picks for the next couple of years, but we're going to go and get the five best college guys out there. You know, the two guys, the two pitchers, and we're going to get Laviolette, and we're going to go get Canalera, whatever his name is. Can't remember his name from.
Caminero
Yeah,
somewhere in
yeah,
there.
wherever he from wherever he's at, and I'm gonna go get Summerhill from Arizona. Like just monopolize the draft, like the Dodgers are monopolizing the major leagues right now, and just go completely build your farm system and have one of the best farm systems of all time. And then all of a sudden, you are the Dodgers. Like you have the best players from. I mean, there is that risk also, by the way, and I know there's gonna be some people that contact me and say, hey, there's that risk that these guys don't work out. Um, but again, like there's no rules, I don't believe, that say you can't go completely bonkers like the Dodgers are doing, other than getting dinged like, oh, hey, we're going to take away your first round pick or something like that. We're going to push you
Which
back to
they
the
do.
10th overall pick.
They no, they would push you back to the second round at
Yeah.
minimum. I
So
believe they
Nick,
push you back 30 picks for sure. And then you lose international money, which the Angels suck at signing international free agents anyway. So that doesn't really matter.
go
But I'm pretty
monopolize
sure
the draft.
there's a number that you're not allowed to go over no matter what.
I mean, no one's ever done it, so I don't think there's. I'd have to really dig deep and ask around. But I've never heard of it. Like, it's always been something like, and it's something that Baseball America brought up. I maybe Eric Longenhagens from Fangraphs brought it up as well, but I think Baseball America has brought it up in the past about monopolizing the draft. And I thought last year was a fantastic time to do it, and with Cruz, Skeens, Langford, and all those guys. But I mean, heck, I mean, the Angels don't have much to lose. You could just go monopolize the draft, which would be an absolute lot of fun. I'll look it up and figure it out. And if I'm going crazy right now with this, but I mean, if there aren't very many rules other than you're getting dinged like the Dodgers are getting dinged in the major leagues, I would be shocked if there were draft rules on this.
Nate, what's your thoughts on the whole process?
I mean, it's going to be interesting. We don't know for sure who's going to be at the top of the draft come July. Like I know we're saying Holiday and Laviolette for sure. You know, Arnold is the top pitcher from Florida State, but I mean the UCSB kid could easily pop in there. So it it's an exciting time to know the Angels have a opportunity to go get an impact guy, a guy that can help the major league roster right away. Because they're probably going to take college kids just like they have every year for the last since Perry's been drafting. So um, it's an exciting time, but it's also like a wait and see. We still have 6 months of baseball. College baseball hasn't even started yet. High school baseball hasn't even started yet. So there's still a lot of time before we find out who's going to be this pick. And I just think it's an exciting time to be an Angel fan, knowing that you might get another impact starter to add to this skeleton. I know that's what Jared calls it. It's a very loose skeleton at best, but you can at least add something to this group.
By the way, sorry, I also have to throw this out there. Seth Hernandez from Corona, Nate, I know you mentioned him, but
The,
has a chance to be probably the best pitching prospect to come out of Southern California since Hunter Green. And then there's also Eli Willits. So if you remember that last
that's the
name, that's Reggie
that's the
Willits' son.
Oklahoma. Yeah, he's supposed to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's Reggie Willits' son. So I just want to throw that out there too. But yeah, I mean, just throwing out a couple more names. Bradley Ebel as well. Dino's kid is on the list as well. Not that he's going to be anywhere near the number one overall pick, but I mean, weird things happen.
Top 15, top 20.
Yeah, Trent Caraway is another SoCal kid. He's actually at Oregon State right now, but he's a top 20 draft guy. At the moment, Caraway went to where's the school down? What's the Boris' school?
Jay Sarah.
Jay Sarah. There you go. So.
All right, so there we go. Number two pick. Number two pick. Other news. Angels signed Connor Kibum to a minor league deal. Impactful at all, guys?
Uh, former top five prospect in all of baseball. Don't quote me on that. Probably top 10, but former very good top prospect in all of baseball. I want to say that Keyboom was the Joe Adell draft. I could totally be wrong, but I feel like he was the Joe Adell draft. And yeah, I mean that's it. It's the same thing as the Dakota Hudson signing. I'd probably like I actually probably like it a little more than Dakota Hudson just because former top prospect, the ability's there, and you never know what someone's going to do in Salt Lake. I know Salt Lake never really ever transfers to major league level, but I mean, all of a sudden, if Keyboom can, maybe find his stroke in Salt Lake, and all of a sudden, you never know. He's still fairly young. I think what is he here, 27 years old, so he's just hitting really his prime, and you never know with some of these guys. So change of scenery can do some good things for guys.
They,
Yeah, I like him. I liked him out of the draft, and I liked him as a prospect for the Nationals. I thought he had a shot to be good. He had a lot of injuries as he was trying to take over for Anthony Rendon. Um, kind of reminds me of a little bit like Hunter Dozier from last year, except for there's no contract attached to him, which is kind of nice, even though there wasn't really a big contract with Hunter Dozier. Just one of those guys where it's like, yeah, he has major league experience. Will he get called up? No idea. Scott Kingery type of guy as well. Like can play second, can play short, can play third. Um, just really needing to hit at the major league level. Should be able to pick it all right though. So at worst, it's an interesting name to see in the minor leagues, and who knows, um, maybe he gets called up and has a good little run, but not a guy that you're expecting to be an impact guy.
Yeah, Dakota Hudson and Mickey Moniak all in that 2016 draft as well as Matt Thice was the Angels pick there.
Mississippi State kid.
all right,
Dakota
for
Hudson,
audio
not
listeners,
Dice.
we'll be right back. Get a word from our sponsors. Okay, other news. Joey Prinsky and David Haynes promoted to assistant GM. More baseball minds in the room. That's the quote that Jared gave before we started the show. How are you feeling about these guys?
Like I said, just more baseball guys in the room. I'm fine with it. I know Nate's gonna kind of go off here, but Joey's done a great job. I had to look. Joey's doing head of baseball or player development. Joey's done a fine job, and David was head of player procurement, which is player acquisition, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, he got the Angels the number 2 overall pick, so he was the representative there at the draft, which is just kind of cool. Not he didn't do anything, but he was that guy. He was a representative. So yeah, now I'll go ahead and let Nate go off because I'm sure he's got some fun stuff to say about it.
It wasn't even like go off, honestly, but it's like we're just gonna keep guys from the same org that's been one of the worst orgs in Major League Baseball. Like we haven't really developed anything over the last couple of years. Like we've drafted guys and put them in the major leagues. That's not development, but that's drafting guys and putting them in the major leagues. We haven't really hit on free agents, which is part of that job as well. And I don't know. It just feels like we haven't been fantastic, so we're going to promote from within. That's not usually a strategy for teams that have been bad. It's like, oh, we've got some really smart people that have not been here or that have been here. They just haven't been given an opportunity to speak, and we're going to give them an opportunity to speak. And now all of a sudden, that we're going to be a good org. That's the one concerning thing for me. Is it's like when you promote from within, when you're a bad organization, you usually get what you have. Like usually this is something that good orgs do. They promote from within to make sure that they keep their good people. Um, it would have been nice to go steal somebody from another org to make him an assistant GM, somebody who is in charge of a player development in a system that has been really really good lately. Maybe a Tampa Bay or someone like that. And I know Tampa does things way differently, but um, still would have been nice to see the Angels go out and get someone from another org, just because that's something they could use is new ideas, because it seems like it's the same old thing going and hasn't been working too well. Obviously, we have the number 2 pick.
All right. And our last thing today. Ron Washington says that they have not talked with Mike Trout about moving to a corner outfield spot yet. I don't exactly believe that, to be honest, guys. I don't like the chatter's been there all off season, during the season. I just don't believe they haven't had a conversation with them at all, even something unofficial, off the books, off the record kind of thing. What are your thoughts on it, Jared?
Ron Washington also said in the interview, we'll see, how the offseason plays out, and things like that. But yeah, it's interesting that I feel like early in the offseason, didn't they say that they had at least talked about it and now already, and not already, but now, um, Ron's coming out and said they haven't talked about it. So I mean, communication kind of worries me just a little bit. If that's true, I could totally be wrong, but I feel like it was talked about as like the season came to an end. So that's a little worrisome. But also, I mean, it's better for Mike Trout if he does move off, and I hope that he realized that. I mean, I know he wants to be, the Mike Trout of old, but I want to see, the Mike Trout of age 30 and above be healthy and be contributing to this team. I mean, he doesn't help the team by playing 50 games a year by any means. So yeah, if moving him to a corner spot helps him, maybe DHing him a little bit more helps him, in the long run stay healthy. Absolutely, this is something that needs to happen. If not, this year, definitely next year and the years beyond that, because, you know, I mean, he's getting to that point where he's turned into like that Torrey Hunter like figure, and you're gonna have to find Peter Borges to move him off, or the next Mike Trout to move him off of center field. So yeah, it's interesting that no conversations had been had yet, but there's also not really anybody that can take over in center field besides Mickey Moniak at the moment. So we'll kind of see what happens.
Nate,
Yeah, that's again not real good with what I was talking about, because Perry mentioned that that was something that they had talked about, was moving Trout off center. And so we have an org that is disorganized, at, let's say that just to be nice. And we're promoting from within, so just to add to that. But yeah, this is absolutely ridiculous to not at least have the conversation. He hasn't played, you know, he hasn't really played in September since who knows when. He hasn't really played in August since who knows when. He's been banged up for the last 3 or 4 years. Like, move him off of center field. This isn't a hard decision. Like, he was willing to have the conversation about it. He understands where he's at, and it makes, if Trout stays on the field longer, it makes the Angels better. And I think moving him off center is the only way to do that. So I just don't know what's going on with this organization to say that, oh, we haven't had a conversation. It's December 10th. You're, at the winter meetings, you would think that this conversation would have to come up, because they would have to have an idea of what they want to do going into free agency, whether it's, hey, we need a third baseman, which they've had that conversation of, like, hey, we're willing to move Rendon to a bench role or a swing role. Hey, do we need a center fielder, or do we need a corner outfielder? Like, all these conversations should have been had in September, when it was pretty obvious that the Angels were done, and we're in December 10th, and supposedly they haven't had this conversation. I think it's an absolute joke, and it's just like, what else is new with this organization?
see, but again, I don't believe they didn't have that conversation. My biggest complaint about this organization for a long time has been they're just not transparent about what they're doing at all. And their fans could really use that. Maybe it's easier if they actually had a kind of a plan for their future over the course of these years, and they really happen. So then how can you be transparent about it? Why would you be? But at this point in time, they've kind of lost any kind of credibility when it comes to these topics, because they've never really been really honest about it. They tell you one thing, they say something else, and so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that to hammer this team. I'm not. I'm not. I'm just saying this is what it's been like in terms of watching how this team functions when it comes to talking to the public. I don't believe for a minute they haven't had a conversation with him. How do you not have a conversation with him? He's been hearing the chatter about this for a couple of years. At the very least, you would think he would go and say, "Hey, what's up with this? What are your plans for me? Because this is what I want." I mean, that's what most human beings would do. So I'm not sure I believe this. We haven't had this conversation. I just don't think they're a transparent organization, and that's what the end result's going to be. I just don't buy that they wouldn't have a conversation at some point, even if it was off the books, off the record, manager to player in in his office, and no one's talking. I just don't. Sorry, I can't believe that. I can't buy it at all. Any other thoughts about that, Jared?
No, I agree. I mean, like I said, I just want to see Trout healthy, because I think that this team can compete with the healthy Mike Trout. So yeah, it only helps the Angels out by him being on the field. And like I said, if that's moving him out of center field, taking some days off, and if the grass is maybe a little softer in right field or left field, so he doesn't get hurt as much, that's totally fine. I mean, same goes with Anthony Rendon. If the Angels need to move Anthony Rendon to second or first or DH for him to not be as hurt. Because I mean, and I know I get hammered every single time I say this, but a healthy Anthony Rendon in the lineup is a helpful Anthony Rendon. Whether people believe it or not, like Anthony Rendon in a lineup is better than Eric Wagaman, is better than Taylor Featherston, is better than Kevin Franzen, is better than any third baseman really that the Angels have had beef like in quite some time. I'm going to be like completely transparent on that. Like since Troy Gloss, since I don't know. I mean, there's been some Alberto Callaspo. Like, I mean, healthy Rendon is a good Rendon. A healthy Mike Trout is a spectacular Mike Trout. And also had to throw this. I want to throw this in there too. But like, if Mike Trout can be healthy, that contract looks absolutely stupid, ridiculous, especially with the amount of money that some guys are making right now. So I mean, 35. I think it's 35, $31 million a year or something like that. I think it's 31. For Trout is insane.
It's
31,
35 and
35.
38. 35 for Trout, 38 for Rendon.
Yeah. I think about AAV, so whatever it is, 34, 35, whatever it is, Rendon may not be worth it. But a healthy Rendon is a helpful Rendon, and same thing with Trout. Like if Trout is healthy, he is 1,000% worth that contract, and is helping this team out. So
All right, Nate, what thoughts for you?
Yeah, if you're counting on those two guys to be healthy, you'll be disappointed in September like you've been disappointed for the last 10 years. So that's like let's just be honest about it, though. If we're going to sit here and be like, "Oh, if we're healthy, it's going to happen," and we're going to run out the same idea with the same thing that we've been running out there for the last 10 years, that's what you're going to get. Disappointment in September and October, and you're going to be watching somebody else win the World Series.
Well, I think
Well,
the team's already made it clear though that they're they're not looking like that.
we'll see.
You know,
Until they do
I know
something
we've made it
otherwise,
clear.
until they do something otherwise, I do not believe anything, right? Like they can say we're going to bring in competition for Anthony Rendon. They could say, you know what, Scott Kingery's the competition for Anthony Rendon. Is that good enough for this team? No. They could say like, hey, we're talking about moving Mike Trout off center. They could still run Mike Trout in their opening day in center field and not have a real center fielder on this roster besides Mickey Moniak. Would you be surprised if either of those things happened?
No.
Yeah, that's the problem. That is the problem. So until we see them actually take the steps to making to finding that solution, it's hard for me to get excited about like, oh, if they're healthy, it's like they haven't been healthy in 5-6 years. So like, why are we gonna assume that they're gonna be healthy now? They're just older and more injured.
All right. Well, true. So that's our show today, folks. Follow us at Talking Halos on X. Follow Jared at Jared_Tims and follow Nate at Nate Green 34. Myself at DC Apollo. We're out of here. Have a great one.